Hi, I'm MarzGurl.
I'm JoshKnightTheFirst.
And welcome to episode 91 of MokkoriPlay, the only podcast dedicated solely to all things City Hunter.
On today's podcast, we're going to cover Season 2, Episode 40 of City Hunter, titled, Umi, What a Sexy Guy! Beautiful Sweeper Miki Gets Close, Part 2.
I don't think we have anything else to talk about other than this episode, because we did all of that in the last episode that we recorded this same week.
Yes, and this one will probably come out, if not the following day, the same day otherwise.
2 episodes this week, though.
Yeah, we're doubling up.
Yeah, catching up with our own... We screwed this up.
I wasn't really a screw-up, it was health reasons.
Well, we were very tired reasons.
Yeah, from the heat, and now this week it's not so hot again, and now it's Labor Day weekend, so summer is technically over.
Well, it will be. It will be.
And now we are just a couple of days out. We're like 5 days out from the launch of this City Hunter movie, Angel Dust. Can't wait to see it.
Yeah.
And this is the thing about a lot of Japanese cinema is that they'll give you like maybe a 2-day grace period, like that Friday and Saturday. And then Sunday, which is really the day off everybody gets in Japan. They don't really have not really long weekends, because I think 2 days isn't even long enough for us, to be honest. But Sunday is the day most people have off, because some people even have school or work on Saturdays.
Right. It's not even a long weekend, it's barely even a weekend. People in Japan very often don't have both Saturday and Sunday off. A lot of people do. I remember when I was in school in Japan, I had both Saturday and Sunday off. So, I don't know. Some places don't work like that, though.
Point being, like with some other movies that came out this year earlier, like say for example Shin Kamen Rider, the first Friday and Saturday of the weekend it opened, there was a little bit of news coming out, and then by Sunday, people had loaded the pamphlets that you got at the theater online, which contained all these spoilers, and nobody was spoiler tagging anything, so just all this information was out there.
Whoops!
And then Monday, they released a trailer that pretty much gave away most of the movie. So I'm assuming that might happen again here, where we get a new trailer for Angel Dust on like Monday that tells us everything that we didn't already know.
I feel like we know a lot already, though.
I mean, it helps when we know what part of the manga that they're covering and adapting, but you don't know. There might be even some other cameos that we weren't aware of on top of Tama and Lupin III.
We also don't know how Lupin is specifically going to interact with the City Hunter team, cast, whatever.
Cat's Eye.
Any of them. We don't know how they're going to interact. We just know Lupin and Jigen are driving around in his car.
There they go now. If you listen really hard, you can hear Tony Oliver.
Hey, Jigen!
See, that was them.
Sure.
So yeah, very much looking forward to that.
Well, like we said last episode, we're not going to be able to see this until next year. So, 2024, we're just going to have to wait for releases in cinemas.
There's that to look forward to. But to go ahead and get started with this week's episode, we are back with part 2 of this story, detailing how Miki actually wants to marry Umibozu. That's very weird to Ryo, since he's caught up in the middle of this contest that he set up. And here at the beginning of the episode, we're given the recap that yes, Miki was somebody that was in Umibozu's past. We don't have a lot of detail on that. That's what this episode is for. And she's currently in this battle with Ryo to see if she can hit him with one paint bullet to go ahead and show that she can in fact be worthy of being considered Umibozu's partner and therefore also be able to marry him.
Umibozu doesn't want this, but also maybe he kind of does, because he probably actually loves her back, but for some reason is very nervous about the entire thing. Kaori really wants to make this work for the both of them. She really wants to help Miki to actually nail Ryo with this paint bullet, and Ryo is playing along, even though, I mean, really, he's skilled enough to not get hit by this bullet. He's not gonna get hit by this bullet. He's too good to allow himself to be shot.
Which is to say, if he was going to get shot, he would have to let himself be shot.
Yeah.
Wink, wink.
I wonder how that's all gonna go down.
Speaking of going down, we start off the episode with Ryo taking Miki out to the hotel district in hopes that they will bone. Apparently, literally, that's all it is he's just asking her constantly, can we bone now? And now it's down to 2 days left on this challenge. As from last week's episode, Miki was given only 7 days to try and hit Ryo with these paint bullets.
Also, only 10 bullets, and she has used 6 of them already. already.
And right now, while the Mokkori song is playing, she's just there trying to avoid his advances. She's got her own little 100-ton hammer as she's trying to get him to back off.
I guess last episode, she started having hammers all of a sudden. Maybe she got them from Kaori. I don't know.
That was my assumption, is that Kaori was like, hey, if you're going out with him right now to try and get the chance to tag him with one of the bullets, you better take one of these with you. And she just pulled it out from nowhere.
Did she give her access to the hammer space?
No, I think she just gave her a hammer from hammer space. But somehow Miki is also able to wield it.
Also able to lift something that heavy.
Yeah. Now, to be fair, we've never addressed this on the show ever, not even once. Those numbers could just be painted on. It could all be bullshit.
But it still hurts Ryo when he gets hit by them. I mean, these hammers go through walls and tables and stuff. They're at least heavy.
Heavy enough to hurt Ryo, yes.
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
So after enough of avoiding his advances, Miki's like, alright, go have fun with your own hand in one of these hotel rooms if you must. I'm gonna be over here. And Ryo takes that as a chance to just go ahead and hit on regular women, not Miki.
Regular women. As if Miki isn't a regular woman.
Well, not every woman has been trained as a mercenary.
Well, that's true.
And as such, Miki has herself posted up on like a fire escape above Ryo, hitting on some woman, and she thinks she's got him in her crosshairs, looks through the scope, and then suddenly he's gone, only to be right next to her.
Surprise, bitch, here I am. You thought you were gonna get me, you were wrong.
How the hell are you doing that? She asks him, and he's like, you don't understand. I can feel your like aura. I can sense you from like a minute ahead of time.
I know when you're gonna do this. I know when you're gonna pull that gun out. I know when you're gonna try to shoot me, so you may as well not even try.
And so Miki takes this as an opportunity to try a new tactic, which is self-hypnosis. So what she's gonna do is she's gonna go into a public bathroom over here, look in the mirror and figure out, alright, I'm gonna train myself to shoot at him through subconscious manipulation. I'm just gonna implant the idea in my own head that when he says a word that he would normally say very often, that's when I'm gonna train myself to just pull the gun without thinking and shoot him.
So this way, she doesn't even know when it is that she is going to pull this gun out. So if she doesn't know when it's gonna happen, how can Ryo possibly know when it's gonna happen? I mean, that's kind of a sound argument.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense.
But also, I think self-hypnosis is bullshit, so...
I mean, I've seen arguments one way or the other on whether or not it works. I think it all depends on the susceptibility of the subject. Some people are very highly susceptible to this kind of crap.
Okay, I guess that includes Miki. I feel like that would be very bad for a mercenary.
To be widely susceptible to hypnosis? Probably.
Right.
And so she has to pick a word that Ryo is going to use a lot. And for whatever reason, I thought, well, surely she's going to pick Mokkori. But she doesn't. She picks the next closest word, which would be bone.
So, the word in Japanese is like, it's ippatsu, which is not like literally bone.
No.
Like, it's one time or a single, because...
It's a counter, right?
Well, early in the episode, he keeps saying, let's just one bone. Let's just have one boning session. Yeah, one shot, one charge, one blow, one try, one attempt, one round. Ippatsu. To say that it's bone isn't really literal, but they needed to pick a word that was going to fit every time he used it in this episode.
Which they're kind of gonna wrangle around a little bit to fit the translation and to make the dialogue flow a little better as the text is there on screen. And sometimes you have to do that as a translator. You got to make sure that the intent comes across, because sometimes literally you can't put what's up there because it might not make sense to your target audience in a different language.
Yeah, that's the best they could have done this episode, I think.
So she does a real quick session with herself in the mirror. All right, on the count of 3, I'm going to trick myself into anytime he says the word bone, I'm just going to pull my gun and shoot. All right, 1, 2, 3, go. All right, I'm hypnotized. Great. And so now they're out at a public park just walking around, and Ryo's remarking, oh, look at that baby over there. I don't want babies. I hate babies.
Well, I mean, that's not really how it got started. There is a woman walking her baby around in a pram, in a stroller. And Miki's like, oh, isn't that baby cute? Or aren't they cute? And Ryo is like, yeah, that mom, that single young mom, the single young moms sure are hot. And Miki's like, no, I'm talking about the baby. And Ryo is like, ugh, babies. Bleh.
And see, after last episode, Miki takes this as an opportunity to rib Ryo back for as much as he was ribbing on Umibozu to her face last week. She's like, you know what? That's what the difference is between you and Falcon. Because at this point, she doesn't call him Umibozu. That's just Ryo's thing, calling him Umibozu. And she's like, you know what? I'll give you an example. Let's say you ran into a little 8-year-old girl. She had no family, no house, no food, and she was just there in front of you. What would you do? Would you take her in? You wouldn't do that. That's the difference between you and Falcon. He would do that.
Yeah, but you're just talking about yourself, though. That's what's happening here. Like, you're talking about a very specific situation where that happened to you. And she's like, yeah, well, what would you do? And he's like, oh, well, if I hadn't seen her again in a while, like, I'd be happy to see her again in about another, 10 years.
So Miki's like, see, that's what's the difference. You've always got sex on the brain. You just couldn't take care of an 8-year-old little girl, could you? And Ryo's like, no, if I had to, if I thought she was going to be attractive, I might just wait around, that 10 years, and maybe if she's attractive enough, then I'd probably want to see if we could bone. Which, is a terrible sentiment.
Well, the phrasing is like, oh, I would take care of her or protect her or whatever for those 10 years until she became an adult. And I'm not really sure if this constitutes as grooming or not. Like, taking care of someone, that's one thing. But making them perhaps be ready to have sexual relations with you
no, that would be
at the
grooming.
Age of 18 for certain would be grooming. But I don't really know what Ryo means, but I suppose either way, it doesn't matter because it's fucking weird.
And also, he said the word bone.
What the translation says is bone right now. He said ipatsu.
And so, as such, Ryo, having said that, has triggered Miki's new hypnosis that she's done on herself. She pulls the gun without thinking and just immediately shoots at Ryo, takes a shot at his head.
And admittedly, this did kind of catch him off guard. He barely dodged with enough time.
Like, he caught her hand just as it was almost brought right up to his face, and the bullet misses. So she's down to like
3 bullets at this point.
Or 2 bullets, I think, at this point.
No, it's 3 bullets at this point.
Well, in any case, a gunshot just went off, and there's a woman here with her baby in a stroller. She got freaked out, and so she let her hands go from the stroller, and it just happened to be on top of a hill, and now the baby in the stroller...
Oh no, my baby!
...is rolling down the hill Untouchables style.
So now both Miki and Ryo have to run after this baby, but Miki can't run very fast because she's in high heels. So Ryo's going just a little bit faster. He might be able to catch this baby. Problem though, there's a car coming up the bottom of the hill, and the dudes in the car don't care that there's a baby in a stroller rolling down the hill. They're just kind of assholes who are like, hey, you fucker with a baby, get out of the way. And
hey, hit the baby, 10 points. And Ryo's like, what's wrong with these people? And so Miki does the only thing she can do, and she sacrifices another bullet and shoots the windshield of the oncoming car to like take out their vision, and they have to swerve out of the way of the carriage. And then the carriage goes careening over the side of this hill, over this river. Ryo goes jumping through the air, catches the baby, and is barely hanging on to the ledge.
And so Miki's got to reach over and then grab him. Whew! We saved both Ryo and a baby from falling into this little man-made river down here.
And she's like, oh my god, Ryo, are you okay? Is the baby okay?
Ryo's like, yeah, I didn't hurt even a single bone.
And she takes another shot and drops Ryo, who, mind you, is holding a baby right now.
Good news, the bottom of the river isn't very far away. He just lands in, the river is not very far down, and the bottom of the river is not very far down. And he's able to lift the baby up out of the water, and the baby's like, ha ha, hee hee, that was fun, gaga goo goo.
And the mom's up at the top with Miki like, oh my god, my baby, what are you people doing?
The mom's barely reacting. She's just looking over like, oh. She doesn't say anything. I would be like, why the fuck did this woman just pull out a gun? My baby's right here. She's got a gun.
No, just think about it. If you were the mom running up right now, it would look like Miki just tried to shoot the baby.
Right, that's what I'm saying. And the mom is not really reacting to it, is what I'm saying.
Maybe she's just in shock.
She could be.
And so while all this is going on out by the river, back at the apartment, or just outside the apartment, I guess, over on a different rooftop, Umibozu is having this conversation with Cowdy. I don't know who called who, but they're talking right now. And so Cowdy's feeding him this line of bull like, hey, so you're worried about Miki, right? Turns out she's in bed with Ryo right now.
Umibozu is very upset at the thought that that might be true. Right now? No!
No, dumbass, I'm kidding. But you're getting so mad about this.
So you must love her, right? Because why would you ever get this mad about this if that wasn't the case?
And it's like the last day. We're down to the last day that she could potentially win this bet and get hitched with you. Are you okay with her losing and then having to bang Rio? Are you really alright with that?
I don't like that either. Okay, well...
And see, this is the thing about it here. This is the big part of the episode for me, is that Umibozu actually gets incredibly solemn and contemplative right here. And he's like looking away from Kaori all dramatically, like off to the side. And he gives her this line like, well, it turns out I'm not that confident that I could protect the woman I love. Not the way that Rio does.
Which is like, oh, that's real deep. And that has just told us a lot of things about a lot of emotions, a lot about what Umibozu thinks about everyone's situation. His own, Ryo's, Kaori's, and he walks away having stated this, but Kaori's just an idiot. Like, part of this has gone over her head. Like, what she should have taken away from it was, oh wow, he thinks that Ryo really cares about me and is trying to protect me all the time because he loves me. And instead, what she has decided she's heard is he's protecting somebody he loves. Well, it's not me, so it must be a mistress.
And see, mistress, that's a loaded term anyway, because how are you gonna have a mistress if you ain't with somebody, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't have a side chick if you don't have a main chick. Like, that's normally how that works, if I'm not mistaken. Rio has done such a good job of throwing Kaori off his trail of feelings that she has no clue that it could possibly be her. Even though there's a lot of evidence to the contrary.
I don't know that he's thrown her off. I think that Kaori is in denial. I think they both are in some amount of denial about what the state of their relationship and their feelings toward each other are.
Cause like, let me remind you, Christmas just happened, right?
Right.
You're the best partner I ever had. He wouldn't say that lightly.
Right.
And so now we're here, and it's like, there's all this stuff going on. Also, on top of that, Umibozu can clearly see Rio is in love with Kaori.
Right.
He basically just said that out in the open. Yeah, I can totally see that he's protecting the person he loves. That's you. It's kind of the insinuation. I figured you would know that, Kaori, is what Umibozu's trying to say right now. But also, he feels the weight of, like, he doesn't know if he's got the confidence in his own skills, weirdly enough, that he could do that for Miki.
Yeah, this is deep. He said a lot of things in a short amount of time.
But, like, that's crazy, though, that he's showing a different level of vulnerability aside from women and cats. I mean, yeah, this is women again, but this is on a whole nother level. But in any case, Kaori is pissed off now that she's got this idea in her own head, which she put there, that Ryo's got some kind of mistress. She goes running back to the apartment all pissed off. Meanwhile, I guess inside the apartment, Ryo's in there with Miki, and he must have said bone again, because she's taking another shot at him just as Kaori's opening the door.
And Kaori is hit directly in the face with pink paint. And Kaori is very upset about this, and Miki is now down to one paint bullet.
And she's like, Miki, we gotta talk. And she just gets her out of the apartment.
Kaori takes Miki to another room in the apartment and says, okay, now I'm really upset about this, and I'm really here to really make sure that you really do win this thing. And you managed to shoot Ryo with your last remaining paint bullet. We gotta make this work. So here we go. Here's the plan.
And so the plan goes into play. Ryo's looking for Miki, like, hey, Miki, where you at? And then he notices there's this note left on the door.
And the note says, hey, Ryo, guess what? I stole your girl. So meet me down here at, I don't even remember where it is because they don't even go to where it is. They never make it down to where it is.
Oh, no, you're right.
They say, go someplace, meet us down there. I got Kaori.
I got your girl. And don't bring your gun.
And come without a gun. And Ryo is like, huh, that's weird. But clearly he understands that, oh, this is a clever ruse.
And so now they're down, parked in the Fiat, Miki and Kaori, trying to see what happens next. And Miki is telling Kaori now, you know, this might be a bad idea, you know, capitalizing on the way Ryo feels about you, the way he loves you. And Kaori's just like, what?
What? No, he doesn't feel that way about me. 1, you're wrong. 2, he has a mistress. And for a second there, Miki is really convinced, like, oh my god, is that true? Because Kaori is so confident that that is the case, even though she has nothing to prove that that is the case. She's just saying it.
Like, it's not even hearsay. She just came to that conclusion on her own. And so, as they're talking there, they see Ryo get in the car and pull around the corner.
Oh, by the way, the Mini's here.
Yeah, just out of nowhere, Ryo's got the Mini back.
He finally got another one.
It's been 2 months, Kaylin. And just out of nowhere, mid-episode, the writers were like, hey, should we give him the car back?
Oh yeah, he has one of those usually.
Yeah, go ahead and draw it.
Did he finally save up enough money to buy the car again?
I guess. Or maybe his dealer was out of town. His regular Mini Cooper car dealer. I don't know.
So he stole it? What do you mean his dealer was out of town?
Maybe he's got a guy that he would only go through.
Oh, you mean he came back?
Yeah, like he was out of town or something.
And then he came back.
And then he came back.
He went away and then he came back.
Yes, that is what I'm saying.
Okay, that wasn't very clear at first.
And so they notice,
hey, Ryo's leaving entirely too early to meet us down there at the time that we told him to meet us down there.
Well, where the hell's he going?
I don't know, let's follow him. Which I think is a really stupid idea, because Ryo knows what the Fiat looks like.
Yeah, he's been driving it for like the past 4 episodes.
Because Ryo and Kaori just swap cars sometimes.
Well, they've been down to 1 car.
That's true.
Like, he didn't have a choice in some
but
episodes.
But also, sometimes when he does have the Mini Cooper, he drives the Fiat.
In some episodes, yes, that has happened. So it's like, yeah, what do you think you're doing? You're probably following too close anyway. And on top of all of this, he knows everything what's going on.
You see a tiny little smirk right before the eye catch. Right before we go to part 2 of the episode of part 2.
So we've been to Umibozu's like warehouse that we assume is somewhere around the docks, right? Well, it turns out he also has a country house out in the woods somewhere, and it's real nice.
Yeah, actually.
It's this nice little lakefront property, 2 stories.
He's got a lot of property. How did he do that?
I imagine Umibozu's better with money.
He might be. I mean, you're the one who has suggested that all of the whiskey he has is his own whiskey business.
Entirely possible. Like, if he's got a side hustle to help fund his sweeper actions, then more power to him. He figured out a way to make it work for him.
Also, about that whiskey, he's sitting there outside of this house drinking some of it, and we looked at the bottle because, I mean, how can you not? The camera zooms in real close on this bottle as he's pouring himself another drink into this cup, and it just lingers on this label for a while, which says 101 proof.
Now, I don't know how many of you people listening drink alcohol heavily or very high proof alcohol. 100%, like, he's damn near drinking fumes.
And it's 101.
He's drinking ethanol. Like, he's drinking for brain damage.
And we've seen him drink a lot before.
We've seen him clear bottles by himself.
He can take it, apparently.
Yeah, but like 101 proof. Come on.
He's a big guy.
Yeah, but you get so shit-faced. A regular person.
But he's such a big guy.
He is a mountain.
He is an entire Mount St. Helens. Like, just the entire mountain.
Had it blown up by 89?
Wait a minute. I'll go check.
Yeah.
Yes, it had erupted like 8 years prior to that.
Okay, so that would actually work in both countries. Like, everybody would have heard about that.
Everybody knew that was a thing that had happened.
Great. So as he's outside drinking by himself, you do the things that you do when you're drinking alone, and he's looking at this old photograph. Look at this photograph! And it's
me in the military!
With a little Miki! It really is. It's a younger Miki there in a photograph with Umibozu. They're both in military fatigues.
Okay, so I guess military, though, isn't entirely accurate because he's, a mercenary. A mercenary. I was gonna say guerrilla. I mean, that's close, but, like, it's not quite accurate. It's
in the ballpark. And as he's there looking at the photo, he hears, like, movement behind him.
He hears the photo.
And he turns around like, who there? And it's Ryo. He's now pulled up to this location. I guess Ryo knew where this place was.
He knows everything about Umibozu because guess what? Whether or not they admit it, they're best friends.
That they are.
He knows where he lives.
And he's asking Ryo, what are you doing here? And he's like, hey man, we need to talk about this note that Miki left. Do you see how you got her acting? Look at this. And Umibozu takes this as an opportunity to get on Ryo's case, like, see, this is exactly why I didn't want her hanging around. Stuff like this is gonna happen. The person you care about gets kidnapped, and then you gotta do something about it, and then you get all worried. And Ryo's having to tell him, no, man, calm down. Look at the note. This is Kaori's handwriting.
Yeah, this was, again, a clever ruse. Nothing bad is happening. It's all fine.
And mind you, while they're having this conversation, Miki and Cowdy have made their way to this location as well, and they're just watching everything play out.
Hiding behind the bushes.
They're in the bushes. And so Ryo, I wonder why he would say the next thing he says here, because it's a matter of he knows they're in the bushes.
Yeah.
And he says, well, look, I know the thing you're trying to complain to me about. You know what? That happens. Sometimes the person you care about, they do get kidnapped. That's happened to me. It could happen to you.
It's dangerous to work around the person that you care about.
Which to me is a mini confession.
Just a little bitty bit, just a tiny one, just a small, a little bitty confession.
And then Cowdy's like there in the bushes like, wonder who he's talking about.
I wonder who that's for.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. And Ryo's finally had enough. He's like, look, Umibozu, there's all this stuff going on. It's time to come clean. What the hell happened between you and Miki?
Well, it was a long time ago.
And he stands up for this flashback.
And he starts speaking in sepia tone.
He does.
So she was like 8 years old, and there I was, in that war-torn country. You know, the one.
We know.
The one we talked about last episode. You know, the one.
It's here on the map.
Yeah, that one. That's the one we pointed at last time.
Yeah, it's the country of...
Yeah, the one. Anyway, so we were there in the war-torn country, and I decided, well, I needed to prepare her for when we weren't gonna be there anymore, because eventually we were gonna have to leave. And here I was, a man of indistinguishable age. And there she was as an 8-year-old girl, and I gave her guns.
And I gave her training, and I gave her the ability to survive, because at some point I knew she had to grow up, and if she was gonna grow up, she needed to be able to survive. That's how it was for many, many years.
And then she turned 14.
And then she told me that she wanted to join up with my mercenary unit. And I thought that was a bad idea. If I kept being a mercenary, she'd just keep being a mercenary right along with me. And that was a bad idea to me, because I might have taken away her ability to love and her ability to experience youth. So I told her that I quit.
And then I was like, you know what? I'm leaving. So I quit being a mercenary so that she would quit being a mercenary. Mind you, I'm still kinda doing weird mercenary shit right now. I just call myself something else. It doesn't count.
That's the way it works with taxes, so it works here too. I went to the Middle East airport.
It literally says Middle East
Airport. And I left her a note, and I told her, goodbye forever!
Good-BY forever.
Signed Umibozu. Or Falcon, however he signed it.
Yeah, he wouldn't have called himself Umibozu. In fact, I don't even think he signed it. I think it was literally just good-by forever.
Good by forever.
Yeah.
That's how it's written out. And you see Miki in the flashback crying over this note as the rain is falling on her face. And it's like, oh, clearly it was Umibozu who wrote this. He can't spell.
Not in English, he can't. I love that illiterate man.
And Ryo's here in the modern day like, oh, so that's why. She had pity on you because you couldn't read.
I mean, he didn't say that, but, like, we're all thinking it, right?
Yeah. And he's like, but, dude, like, you realize the reason she wanted to join up with your unit was because she loved you, man. She did it out of love.
But Umibozu's like, no, I can't accept that. I would have taken away everything. Like, everything he already said. Like, he's just kind of reiterating it at this point. He really thinks he would have taken away the entirety of a normal person's youth if she had stuck with him, because his lifestyle is too dangerous and he didn't want to take that from her.
And he follows that up by saying, I would make sure to do anything for her to make sure she didn't end up in this life. And if it looked like you were gonna lead her back into this life, I couldn't have it.
Which means we'd have to fight, you know, like we do sometimes. And Ryo's like, hey, actually, that's a pretty good idea. Why don't we do that?
Because, you know, I could treat her right, Umibozu. You don't even have to worry about her.
Oh, no, you don't. Oh, see, you care about her. No. Like, he's really, this is going in circles at this point.
And so now that Umibozu's even more flustered, he's like, all right, you want duel? You want go? Let's go.
Yeah, you and me, gun duel, right now. Go get your gun. And Ryo's like, well, I don't have my gun. And that's because they told me not to bring it. I have a note.
He literally says, I have a note. He's like, damn, that actually makes sense.
The girls said, come to whatever the hell the place was. And I know you wrote it down. Don't even say it, Josh. Don't don't even say it because it literally doesn't matter because they never go there.
Pittsburgh. They said go to Pittsburgh.
They drive from Japan to Pittsburgh.
And don't bring a gun.
Don't bring a gun.
Point being, Umibozu's like, all right, I'll be right back. What size gun are you? All right,
what size gun are you?
Because you know he's got them all.
What's your finger size? Like a bowling ball.
All right, I'll be right back. And he goes inside to go get Rio a gun.
And then he gives Rio the gun and says, here, take a look at this gun. And Rio's like, you know what? I don't like this gun.
I don't trust it.
I don't feel good about this gun. You use this gun. Give me your gun.
And he's like, all right, fine. I'll shoot you however. It don't matter.
I mean, that's immediately suspicious, right? Like, it's not just me. It's everybody. Everybody in this room knows. And in this room, I mean, like, the living room where we record this. Like, everybody here.
Everybody in this room. Us and the two cats.
Everybody knows this is suspicious. Switching guns like this. Rio wouldn't just switch guns like this. This is stupid.
Mind you, he just did that last episode.
Oh yeah, he did it with Miki
in the toilet
bathroom, right? Yeah.
And so now Miki is like bubbling up with emotion right now over, but he didn't take my happiness away. I was happy. I wanted him to stick around. What's he doing?
And now they've got to shoot each other and someone has to die? Oh no!
And like Howdy's got the popcorn out, like, shut up, I want to see how this goes down. And so they take their positions across like this very nice yard. Really, how much square footage is Umibozu dealing with here? Because he must have gotten
a pretty large home.
He got a really good deal on this place, I imagine. The 80s?
Yeah.
This is a nice summer home. Anyway, I'm getting distracted.
We don't even go in the house, okay? Nothing happens inside this house.
One thing happens in the house, and it's
just Umibozu walking in the house to grab the gun.
And saying to himself, I will never let anybody take Miki's happiness away from her. And, like, you can tell, dude is in love. This is how he shows love. With a gun.
Yeah, I want to, since we're on that topic, I don't want the moment to pass where we go, it is a little weird for him to eventually be in this semi-romantic relationship with a person that he knew when he was an unidentified adult-aged man and she was an 8-year-old at some point. Now, granted, they are both adults right now, and it does not appear that he groomed her in any way other than to be a military child, but
like he trained her a completely different way. He trained her to be a child soldier, but
totally different grooming.
But he feels really bad about it. That's the difference. No, because think about it. No, because I think about it. There was this movie, I believe it was a Korean movie called Tidal Wave, where there's the same kind of relationship between two of the main characters. It's this guy and this girl that he brought up from like 12 years old, and now she's like 19, and she's developed romantic feelings for him, and everybody around them's like, hey, you guys look so good together. Just, let it happen. It's fine. And I'm over here watching it like, look, can we just get to the disaster part of this movie? Because I don't know how I feel about this.
Like, I don't know. I always felt weird about anybody who was like an age difference of a couple of years younger than me. And then even when we were both adults, I was like, but I knew you as a child. There's like a part of my brain that I just can't. I will never not see
Would
this
you
person
say
as
then,
a child.
on a scale of 0 to Padme and Anakin, how creepy is this for you, or how unsettling is this age gap between Umibozu and Miki for you?
Because Padme, when it's episode 1, she's still like 14, right?
And Anakin's like, what, 8?
9. It's in the song. He's just 9 and she's 14.
Oh, no, that's right. So like, it's a 5-year age gap.
Yeah, they're both basically children.
Now, to be fair, for whatever that's worth, they don't say how old Umibozu is in the flashbacks, but in his defense, for whatever this is worth, it could be that he was like Dwayne Johnson in high school, and he just always looked like he was a 32-year-old security guard.
Now, admittedly, I will totally admit, my first boyfriend, okay, 1 year difference. All right, he
older or
was
younger?
Older than me. He was older than me by only 1 year, and my mom met him for the first time. Like I was 16 and he was 17 or something like that. Okay, he shows up at the house. Mind you, I had never not known him without a full mustache. At the age of like 17, okay? And he shows up at the house, and my mom, she greets him politely and stuff, but when he's not looking, she turned to me and she was like, oh my God, Kaylin, what is happening? You brought home a man! She was very upset. Incredibly upset. I guess it is entirely possible that he just looks way older than he actually is.
Yeah, like, I can imagine how that would go down.
Yeah.
So yeah, it could be the case, like, maybe Umibozu wasn't as old as he looks. Maybe he's just always looked like that. I don't know.
I genuinely don't know.
So we're just chalking this one up to we just can't determine
Yeah, but
it.
like, if he's like 17 and she's 8, that's still very strange.
Well, see, like, I think just for comedy's sake, I'm just gonna headcanon that he is like 16, 17, and he looks like he's 30.
And I guess that is possible.
But yes, like we were saying over here, so yeah, the duel's about to happen. Miki's like, wait a minute, both of them might die. They're both equally skilled with a gun. Don't do it! And she comes running out from behind the bushes.
As if that's a smart thing to do, because now she could be in the line of fire. Granted, no, she isn't, because both of these men are extremely good shots. She would never be shot.
And so they're both like, 1, 2, 3, go! 2 shots ring out. There's that hesitation that you always see in a lot of Japanese cinema, waiting for somebody to go down, and then one person goes down, and it's Ryo.
Oh no, but actually, guess what, he's fine. He's fine, he opens up his jacket so that you can see what you might initially think is blood splatter, but that's not blood, it's paint.
Oh, look at that, you ruined my favorite shirt, and look at that, Umibozu, I got you too.
Oh no, you also have paint on your shirt? Oh no, both of these guns had paint bullets in them. That sure is weird. Aw, that Miki, she sure got us, didn't she? She had this whole thing planned out from the beginning. You're full of shit, Ryo.
This is the worst explanation you could come up with. It's so see-through, it's saran wrap, is what we're dealing with here.
And the thing is, Umibozu does see through it. By the end of this whole conversation, he's gonna let it go, but he is kind of upset about this for a second.
And so, like, Miki, now that she's presented herself and, you know, Cowdy's following out from behind her, you know, they hear Ryo giving this explanation like, oh, this was all Miki's master plan to get both of us. She clearly got us. I guess that means you lost, Umibozu. You gotta pay up. And so Umibozu's asking Cowdy, is this true? Did she really plan all this?
And Kaori's like, obviously. Wasn't that great? Miki was so good at this. She sure got you. Guess you better just get married, cause all this is over.
And so now Umibozu's putting 2 and 2 together, and he's like grabbing Ryo by the collar like, you friggin' liar! This is not what happened! She didn't do this! And he's like, dude, just do it. Just get married.
Ryo's response is kind of that imagery of some cute anime chick that you see on the internet all the time of hitting themselves in the forehead with their tongue sticking out like, haha, oopsie fuckles.
Oopsie.
It's not the first time I've said that and gotten you with oopsie fuckles.
You get me, because I forget you said it, and then you say it, and then it gets me every time.
It's because I wait a little while to get you with oopsie fuckles, and then I got you.
You got me, just like they got each other. And so now that this is all out in the open, Miki's making this impassioned plea to Umibozu one last time, like, oh my god, why won't you just let this happen? You gave me such happiness throughout my whole life, except for that one time when you took off and you didn't tell me where you were going and you spelled it badly on a note. But other than that, I was happy. You idiot. Just marry me.
And Umibozu's kind of like, well, I need to renege on some of this. I'm not gonna get married to you, but actually, maybe being partners isn't so bad.
If you're willing to accept that I live my life on the edge of death, don't blame me if you get in trouble, but if you're okay with that, we can partner up.
Which I think is a little shitty of him, that, like, he put her up to a task with a promise of getting married, and then he wants to try and do takebacks, but he is compromising a little bit.
I mean, and I guess Miki knows him well enough to know that's probably as good as she's gonna get out of him right now, and so she's just like, Falcon! She's just, like, embracing him from behind.
And he's blushing.
He's bright red.
Because he does want this, but he's not ready to fully admit it out loud to anybody.
Like, he's gonna go home tonight. Dear diary, it was the greatest day of my life.
But I can't tell anybody. Probably not even myself.
Or my best friend Ryo. Speaking of which, Ryo and Kaori are off to the side, and Ryo's like, and that's the end of that chapter.
It was very nice of Ryo to play along, actually. He wanted this for him so badly.
Think about this, though. That means he's a good wingman.
Yeah, that's true.
The best wingman makes sure you get the girl in the end.
Well, yeah, especially if Ryo is usually the kind of guy that's like, oh, well, I'll just bone any woman if they would let me. And he might have been able to get away with it. Miki was never gonna hit him with a bullet. It was just never gonna happen because Ryo is too good. He could have ended up winning the bet and getting a night of boning with Miki. He could have done it. And he didn't.
No, he passed it up to make sure that this happened because everybody knew this was the thing that should have happened.
Ryo's satisfied with where this has all ended up, but Kaori is still really upset about an imaginary person that she's made up in her head. This supposed mistress that it maybe possibly exists that nobody has ever said exists and she just decided is real for no reason. And it's like, hey, what about this mistress? And Ryo's just like, excuse me? What the fuck are you talking about?
And she's like, tell me!
Why are you even mad at me right now? This doesn't make any sense. And it doesn't, but she's mad enough, regardless, to pull out another hammer. And this is really confusing because the hammer, you don't see the full hammer. You don't get to see the whole thing. You don't get to see all the writing on it. But the number is at least 4,000 times 80. And it could be 800. It could be 8,000. We don't know how many zeros come after that because the picture cuts off there. But as far as we can see, it's at least 4,000 times at least 80.
So we're to assume it's a 32,000 ton or pound.
320,000. Hold on. 4,000 times 80. Yeah, I was right. 320,000.
Okay, that 320,000 ton hammer, because usually she's using thousands, like that's a lot. That's a lot of rage you have generated all on your own. And that's where the end of the episode is just we hear Still Love Her playing as she's just chasing Ryo down by the lake, trying to hit him for something that just doesn't even exist.
Yeah, he didn't deserve that one. That's the one time he didn't deserve it. He actually did something really good here.
But I don't think Kaori's even gonna catch that that's what he did. Like, she's so in her own head right now, she doesn't even realize that he just did Umibozu this amazing solid.
Yeah, it's real nice. It's real sweet.
And so yeah, from here on out in the show, Miki will now be a permanent member of the cast.
Yay! And important things will happen, and even more important things will happen in the manga that we will never see.
And we were discussing this here between the two of us before we started recording. You were saying they don't ever show it in the anime, right? But eventually, I guess it's not too much of a spoiler to put this out there, Umibozu and Miki do in fact get hitched.
At some point, yes. And no, I don't think this happens. I'm pretty positive this does not happen in the TV series. But it does happen in a pachinko machine. They animate it specifically for a pachinko machine.
But see, that's the thing though. Like, pachinko machines are where lost media goes to never be found by somebody outside of the country. Because, like, before Angel Dust this weekend, the only time you could ever see Shinkai or Mick Angel was in a pachinko machine.
Also, actually seeing how Makimura dies. Like, there's an entire really gruesomely animated fight and death scene with Makimura in one of these pachinko machines, and the first time I saw it, I was like, oh my god! What is happening?
See, these are the things we do for you guys in making this podcast, is that we will spend 2 hours on YouTube just looking through recorded pachinko videos to get all of this extra City Hunter content that you might otherwise not know about. But we do it because, damn it, we love this series.
We're just hungry for more all the time.
So hungry. And so next episode, what we're going to run into is more of a new status quo here, where Umibozu doesn't ever really go back to the warehouse. Now, whenever we see him, he's primarily going to be working at Cafe Cat's Eye.
This ends up being a pretty iconic look for Umibozu later. You see in the preview for this next episode, he's dressed in a nice button-down collared shirt, and he's wearing the smock that says Cat's Eye on it, and he's learning how to serve coffee, and also he's really bad at handling dishes because they're very delicate, and he has big, strong hands.
But also here in this next episode, this is one of the few episodes that we have a different issue with altogether here in City Hunter.
The supernatural shit shows up, which only happens a couple of of times throughout this whole show, but this is one of them. Because this next one's a two-parter, and guess what? There's an Esper. They're translating it as psychic, but they're literally saying Esper. Like, if you've played Final Fantasy VI, you'll be familiar with the terminology of Esper, which means they have ESP.
Extrasensory perception.
I don't like these episodes. These are not my favorite. I do not like the idea of there being supernatural superpowers in City Hunter suddenly out of nowhere.
But these episodes are few and far between, so we're just gonna knock this two-parter out, and then we'll be back to our regularly scheduled programming after that.
Okay, good. So come back next time when we cover the 41st episode of City Hunter 2, Mokkori Everywhere, Ryo's Mind and a Psychic Girl, Part 1.
And if you want to catch us outside this podcast, you can always find us both over on most social media. I'm at JoshKnightTheFirst.
And I'm at MarzGurl. Thank you all so much for listening to our 91st episode of MokkoriPlay. And if you don't come back next episode, I'm gonna read Josh's mind.
Okay, what am I thinking of right now?
The next episode.
Wrong. It was Denny's.